How are you doing? Appreciate you for tuning in to Chomping at the Bit. Um, Hopefully, you had a great Christmas. You're getting ready for the new year, 2026. Obviously, hoping for great things. Want to talk about these NFL races where I felt like this Sunday was a day of missed opportunities for a few teams. Now, we're also looking at the fact that the week isn't over yet. There's still Rams, Falcons yet to be played, but for the most part, we kind of understand what's at stake for Week 18, final week of the regular season before we get into playoff football, which I am excited for because this year the playoffs seem like it's going to be very much, unpredictable. You got some new faces. I'm loving it. So, look, let's just get into some of the action that we saw. Look, the AFC North was up for grabs. It could have been clinched by the Steelers if they took care of business against the Browns. They didn't. They knew going into the game, winning they were in as, Friday night? No, not Friday night, sorry. Saturday, the Ravens beat the Packers in a game that, look, was, kind of fun seeing the backup quarterbacks going at it. Huntley versus Malik Willis. Malik Willis played probably the best game I've ever seen from him. It wasn't enough. Packers defense couldn't stop Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry went nuts, 216 yards on the ground, a couple of touchdowns. And the Steelers, with their opportunity, they lose 13-6, but they had the ball late in the game with a chance to win it. 4 straight plays near the goal line. They can't punch it in. They decided to throw it with Aaron Rodgers. I believe he targeted Denzel Ward, I believe all 4 times. I'd have to double check that, but couldn't convert. It was the first game without DK Metcalf, obviously suspended with the interaction with the fan. And he was sorely missed. There were times where Rodgers just did not necessarily, I would say, trust who he was throwing to. And we know with Aaron Rodgers, that's always a big thing. But Rodgers 21 for 39, 168 yards. That just wasn't good enough. The Ravens now have Week 18 versus the Steelers. It's a winner-take-all type of game, which the league decided to put on Sunday Night Football. They are getting backlash online, which I will say I agree with. Seahawks 49ers should have ended the season, but it is what it is. So the AFC North still undecided after all these weeks. Both teams missed opportunities. Both teams have underperformed. And unfortunately, or fortunately, if you're a fan of one of the teams, one of them will get in to the postseason. NFC South is the AFC North of the NFC. 2 teams, Bucks, Panthers, went into the day. Panthers more so had an opportunity to end things if they could beat the Seahawks, which was going to be a tall order to begin with. We already knew that. The Bucks were looking to just get some good momentum going as they went up against a Dolphins team. No Tua. They went to Quinn Ewers. Mike McDaniel. We'll see what his job status is after the season, but the Bucks lose yet another game. 7th loss in 8 games. Although Baker Mayfield threw for 346 yards, but he had 2 interceptions. So we got some good Baker, and unfortunately, I guess too much bad Baker, as they did lose that game to the Dolphins, which is now set up one of the weirdest final week situations I can remember. Panthers beat the Bucks. The Panthers are the 4 seed. That's the easy way this happens. The complicated way is the Bucks beat the Panthers on Saturday afternoon. Falcons beat the Rams Week 17 Monday night, which is going as I'm recording this. Then beat the Saints Sunday afternoon. The Panthers, even though losing to the Bucks, would still win the division. because it would be a three-way tie, which would allow the Panthers to take over the division. It's crazy. And then obviously for the Bucs, Falcons lose either to the Rams or the Saints. They beat the Panthers. They are the division champion. Crazy. But those are the scenarios that are left. Then let's take a look at the AFC South, where the Jags beat the Colts. So Phillip Rivers gets brought in. He's now 0-3. It was 23-17 Jags win. The Jags now have an opportunity to be everywhere from the number 1 seed or the number 5 seed. Still left to be determined. They would obviously be the number 1 seed if Denver and New England lose, would create, I believe, a three-way tie there, and the Jags would have the conference record tiebreaker, I believe, which would vault them to the number 1 seed. Denver 2, New England 3. Trevor Lawrence in the game, 2 touchdowns, but they were both rushing. At times had problems throwing the ball. Did have a bad interception in the red zone. So, but they did enough to win it. That's all you can ask for them. The Texans, on the other hand, Christmas Day, they played against Justin Herbert. They beat up Justin Herbert. 5 sacks. Herbert's dealing with the broken non-throwing hand, has that like soft cast or whatever on it. The Texans could be the 5 seed. I think they could be everywhere from 3 seed to the 7 seed, because they have a chance to win the division if the Jags lose against the Titans and the Texans beat the Colts next week. Then the Texans would be the number 3 seed, the AFC South champion, and the Jags would be the 5 seed, the first wild card. So, as you'll see, there's a lot that we kind of know and a lot that's still way up in the air. The one thing we do know is from the NFC North, the Packers are the 7 seed after they lost to the Ravens. The Bears can be the 2 seed or the 3 seed at this point. And they're coming off the thriller against the Niners on Sunday night, a game that was high scoring. It was a 42-38 49ers win. I thought Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, the team had a good showing. That was another game that came down to the wire. Caleb Williams rolled out, couldn't find anybody. Then he short hopped his receiver to end that one. Brock Purdy had 5 touchdowns, an incredible game from him. But the Bears are the 2 seed if they beat the Lions. They fall to 3 if they lose to the Lions, and the Eagles turn around and beat the Commanders, who I'll talk about here in a second. But yeah, look, the Bears are a team that this is a season where they are ahead of schedule. It's going to be interesting to see how well they do come playoff time. The NFC West, Seahawks beat the Panthers 24-7 in the second half after a first half that was kind of sloppy, and they went into it tied, but they dominated them second half, which, like I said, set up Bucs Panthers this week. But Seahawks did that to keep their number 1 seed hopes alive. The 49ers went over the Bears, now makes Seahawks 49ers the game that should be the Sunday night game to close out the regular season, but they are Saturday night, so they're still getting prime time, just not the prime time slot I think they should have. Like I said, Purdy had 5 touchdowns, 3 passing, 2 rushing. Just a great game all around. So the number 1 seed's on the line, which I think for the Seahawks, obviously, they've been one of the best teams in the league, not just the NFC. For the 49ers, it would be a little bit out of nowhere, I feel like, because they've dealt with so many injuries. They went through the weeks with Mac Jones. They have had the Brock Purdy, obviously missed games because Mac Jones played. The wide receiver group is led by, I guess, Jawan Jennings has the most touchdowns out of that group, but Christian McCaffrey is their leading rusher and receiver. Kittle's been banged up. The defense, first year under Robert Saleh, they lost a lot of guys in the offseason like Kinlaw, Hafanga, Greenlaw. They lost some big names, and they're still one of the top defenses in the league. So shout out to what Kyle Shanahan's doing out there, as well as Robert Saleh on the defensive side of the ball. They now put themselves in a position that after all of this madness, they could be the 1 seed with everything running through Santa Clara, California in the NFC playoffs. Or they'll run through Seattle with the 12th man. I feel like both places are tough to play. So, we'll see what happens on Saturday night. And then, I guess to AFC East. Obviously left that for last because got to talk about my Patriots here at the end of this episode. But let's start with the Bills. The Bills faced off against the Eagles. Big game for both teams. For the Eagles, they've had a lot of trouble kind of closing out this season. A lot of drama, I guess, surrounding the team. It was a test for both of them. The Eagles win it as the Bills fell 13-12. It was a really weird game because of the weather. It was a downpour with like threat of snow if like the weather pattern shifted just a little bit, but it was a rainy day. We saw some ball control issues, especially from Josh Allen, but the Eagles dominated the first half, but were only up 13-0 in the halftime. Then come out in the second half, the Eagles do absolutely nothing on the offensive side of the ball. I believe they had 4 possessions, all were 3 and out, only had 17 yards of offense, which allowed the Bills, who had a much better second half than the first half, to climb back into the game. They score all their points in the fourth quarter. They get a touchdown, which made it 13-6. So obviously, extra point, easy play, make it 13-7. No, Jalen Carter gets penetration, jumps up, blocks it with his left hand, 13-6. Bills get the ball back. They drive down the field. They score 13-12. They're left with a tough decision of go for 2, go for the win, which obviously they don't get it, they lose, or try another extra point, hope Jalen Carter or somebody else doesn't block it, and then go into overtime against an Eagles team that had done nothing in the third or fourth quarter. McDermott and crew decided to go for 2, which I'll explain in a second here my thoughts on that. It was a good play call. Josh Allen rolled out to his left. Khalil Shakir breaks open in the back of the end zone. Josh Allen throws it. I don't know if the weather had an effect. I'm not sure. The ball came out like far outside. Low and outside, incomplete. Eagles win the game. And, for not doing much of anything in the second half, the Eagles escape with a win. And I feel like more questions, kind of like what we had going in about that Eagles offense and how it's going to perform in the playoffs. And for the Bills, a missed opportunity where they not give because the Patriots earned it with a win, but they lose out on their attempt to win the AFC East for a 6th season in a row, I believe. Patriots are back atop the AFC East. And the Bills are left wondering from a lot of people, was it the right decision? I'm okay with it. They knew they were a playoff team anyway. They were being aggressive to get the win, get out of there. As we later learned, Josh Allen re-aggravated the foot injury, so I'm assuming that had something to do with the decision, because why go through another overtime period where it could be, another quarter and you possibly end up with a tie, which does you no good anyway. The Eagles defense was really good, so there's a chance maybe you get a turnover and the Eagles get short field and beat you that way. You never know. So they went with the opportunity that was in front of them to get the win, and they failed. Hindsight's 2020, but I think because they're going to be a playoff team, they were afforded that chance because they didn't want to sit there and hope the Dolphins beat the Patriots like they just beat the Bucks. So they tried it, they failed, whatever. They're a wild card team. And for a team like Buffalo, you have Josh Allen, a former MVP. Going on the road shouldn't be that big of a deal for you when you're looking at the quarterbacks in the AFC that you could possibly see that, let's be honest, are lacking playoff experience. And obviously, I'm talking about even my own team, Drake May, his first taste in the playoffs. Trevor Lawrence hasn't been there in a while. I believe only the one game. Bo Nix would, I guess, have the bye if we're looking at it that way. But Lamar or Aaron Rodgers, obviously, they have plenty of experience, but those two teams just aren't that good this year. So if you're Buffalo, you should be okay thinking about being a wild card team. And we've seen it plenty of times in the NFL, wild card teams making it through and getting to the Super Bowl. Now, my Patriots took on the Jets and absolutely took them back behind the woodshed and, destroyed them. Beat them 42-7. Drake May, 5 touchdowns, 5 different receivers. Stephon Diggs, who's now 30 yards away from 1,000 if he plays against the Dolphins, which I think he should because the Patriots do have a shot at the number 1 seed, but he is coming off the ACL injury and everything. We'll see what Mike Vrabel decides to do. But Diggs caught one. Ramondre Stevenson caught one. Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper, and Efton Chisholm. First touchdown catch of his career. Drake May found him on a rollout, threw it. Chisholm made a nice little diving catch there. And Drake May was the first one to go congratulate him because they understood it was his first one. Big deal for him. I was happy to see him contribute. Saw a little bit from Kyle Williams. So you're seeing some of those young players who will hopefully be contributors on this team for the next few years. It was good to see the offense with those players as opposed to Booty and Mac Hollins, who Booty was like a healthy scratch. Mac Hollins is on IR with seems like an abdomen injury, I believe, but that's going to be a big loss. But Patriots now could win the number 1 seed, beating the Dolphins. Denver losing against the Chargers. Very easy. Chargers, though, there's some questions about whether or not Justin Herbert will play. Obviously, if Herbert doesn't play, you feel like the Broncos should win that, and the Patriots will be looking at being the 2 seed, which that's fine. They could fall to the 3 seed if they lose to the Dolphins and then the Jags win, obviously. They would, I guess, stay as the 2 seed if they lose. Texans win, Jags lose, Patriots stay as the 2 seed. So, yeah, that's my quick, well, somewhat quick, rundown of everything that happened, why I believe some teams missed opportunities, and we'll see if it comes back to bite them. Steelers, if they lose to the Ravens, they're going to be mad about that game against the Browns and how it went. And if you're the Bucks and, 2 months ago you look like the runaway easy division champ and it all blows up in your face on your home field, week 18, missed opportunity. So, appreciate you for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, hit the like, leave a review, all that good stuff. I appreciate anything that you give me. You want to drop a comment, please do so. I definitely appreciate those as well. Give me your take on the playoff picture, possible matchups you're looking at as, dream matchups for a wild card weekend. I'll probably do some of my own with that probably next week. The rest of this week, we'll see. Has some episodes lined up. Don't want to give anything away. The plan is an episode a day this week, and then we're going to carry that into 2026. The thought is give you more per week. Hopefully, I can do at least 4 to 5 a week. So this week, I'm going to try to do at least 5. If not, I'll give you 7. We'll see. But once again, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. Be safe. God bless. Enjoy this holiday season. Be safe. And I will speak to you tomorrow. All right? Bye.